Hello, and thank you for listening to this episode of our Business Spotlight series. Today, we're more than excited to have Stefan Joens on our program, president of Elnick Systems, a leader in the metal part making industry, long history, locally present here, I think, since 23 in the greater Charlotte area. Tell us about your business, what problem you solve for your clients.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Appreciate being on the podcast with you, and look forward to making an impact for your audience today. So, as you mentioned, we're an equipment maker. We support the metal part making industry. That's mainly driving into the metal injection molding or metal 3D printing industry. And the equipment's used to make pretty much parts in every single, industry you can think of. So if you're a medical person, it could be tools you're using, in the dental world or in the surgical world. It could be hips and knees that you're, replacing on humans. If you're a fan of Ray-Bans and glasses and so forth, some of the small components on sunglasses are going through furnaces like this as an injection molded part. It's used in the weapons industry. It's, parts of the airplanes that you're flying. It's in your right angle drills that you're using, your Caterpillar equipment,
Pretty much
your
everywhere.
agricultural work. It's in every single industry, the cars you drive. So it's a super little niche industry, but it's a big impact across the world. It's really fun to be part of it and, have the ability to make an impact like that across the world.
How long have you been part of the organization and leading it?
Yeah, great question. So it's a family-run business. It's 56 years old. I started when I was 14. I was in and out for about 4 years, and then I looked at my dad, who was working 60 hours a week, and I said, "You're nuts. I'm going to go do my own thing." And I didn't really grasp the mindset and the reality of an entrepreneurial world where if you're running a business, there's no timer on how much you should be working. So I went into the finance world for a little while, studied finance, and became a financial planner. And it was actually a great transition to do that for a few years because it allowed me to tackle an area of the world, which is people's money and their finances. And I was really able to not just make an impact and help people personally in their planning, but I started to learn a lot about people, what makes them tick, how do you have hard conversations? Because, working for Ameriprise, we did not just cash or stocks, we did estate planning, we did insurance work, we did everything. So it gave me a foundation for really becoming the leader that I am today. And then at 27, after 4.5 years of being there, I decided it wasn't an industry I wanted to stay in. I've always been a maker. I've always liked to tinker around with tools. So I sat with my dad at the time, and since 27, I'm 43 now. I've come back to the business, and probably for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been in the leadership role, so running the company as president. And prior to that, I kind of moved myself through all the different ranks of the business.
Learned it
Not
from the
because I was
inside
asked to
out.
do that, mainly because we had a void, and I actually said I would like to tackle this role. And it was before I knew what I was really doing, but I knew and I believed in myself, and I believed in my ability to work with people. And a lot of that came from working, as a financial planner.
Okay, wonderful. Lots in there and things that we'll certainly touch on here throughout the rest of our time together. But to get a bit more of a view of your organization,
Mm-hmm.
understand the product that you provide, and it's part of pretty much everyday lives here in America and abroad for that matter.
Yeah.
The size of your team, just for a moment, leadership and from the production manufacturing side. And if you can talk just a tad about that footprint, local versus global, and how that kind of gets coordinated and air traffic control, so to speak, with so many moving bits and pieces.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we didn't touch on real quick, but I'm sure we'll touch on a little later, is we actually relocated in 23 from New Jersey, where the company started. And it moved itself through, multiple growth points and so forth, along the years. We were 41 people when we left New Jersey. We brought 21 people with us, and we kept a quarter of that team on board in New Jersey. And we're back up to 37 employees right now. And we also have 4 teammates that work for us in Germany, supporting our local customer and market over there. And then Elnick is located here. We've got about 4 executives on the team, and then there's about 5 or 6 middle manager, department leads, so purchasing, service, production. And then the rest of the team is made up of engineers, support staff in the office, and then there's probably about 14 to 15 people working in the shop, in a variety of different roles, whether it's sheet metal, stockroom, welding, assembly, checkout.
What part has the vision for the company and the values that you've established and even refined over recent years played in your leading the industry that you support?
That's a really good question. I learned a lot from my dad growing up that as he moved himself through the furnace world and eventually got into this industry called debinding and sintering, which is what we're in right now, he
Okay.
left an industry of making onesie twosie jobs into I want to standardize something because he's a big believer of go after one product or one area of business and get really good at it.
And riches are in the niches, right?
Yeah, exactly. Riches are in the niches. I was going to say that too. So you beat me to it. That was great. So he's a big believer in that. And he, instilled that thought process into my mind. He goes, let's get really, really good at this and go run after it. So he built a lot of value in making sure quality first is the number one core value we have. I've come in and helped to define what the values of the company are. It was always something that was there, but now they're written all over the place. They're in the handbook. We do monthly awards related to the core values because I'm a big believer in some of my own personal development and business growth that I've done. Culture and core values are the most important thing to me when I'm not just looking for new teammates, but how I'm continuously operating this business.
Hmm.
So we build good culture by having good core values, and we live by those core values every day, not just in recognition, but also in the disciplinary actions throughout operating a business, right? So, if somebody's walking through the shop and they forget to pick up some tape. We talk about that, right? Because this is our home. We have a 52,000 square foot facility here that we don't have a cleaning crew come through. We are the cleaning crew. So every Friday
Wow.
we shut down. Today's Friday at 3 o'clock. We're going to clean the shop up from 3 to 3:30, and everything from the front office to the back, the
And
bathrooms,
they're
everything.
seeing
The whole
you
team
in
does
that
it.
exercise. You're part of that exercise as well. Is that
Absolutely.
correct?
I was the
That's
one
key.
initially doing it, with a small group initially.
Hmm.
And then we got to the point where, like, listen, it's, initially when you try to lead by example as a leader, which I'm a big believer in, you hope people kind of take resemblance of that and they start to act that way. So there was people that were falling in line, but I said, listen, the best way to do this is to make sure everybody holds each other accountable. So
Right.
we got together as a team, we talked about it, we say, here, this is what we want to do. Is everybody on board? And we rotate, so not every group's doing the same part of the shop every time. So everybody does the same thing, from taking the trash out to cleaning the bathrooms and sweeping the floors,
That's
vacuuming the
right.
carpets. We keep
As we
score.
work with clients about culture and about the synergies of a team, there's six keys to a winning team, but one you're speaking on there, first off is strong leadership, a common goal. They understand the rules of the game, that the environment supports risk taking so that there's a constant pursuit of innovation. And then the next piece of that is 100% involvement. And
Yeah.
so that's where you just described a bit about making sure everybody not only understood it, but was on board. And so then you essentially have a baseline to go back to say, well, if we remember, we all kind of stacked hands on this and
Hmm.
there was an opportunity, just like on a daily production floor, you have a daily stand up or a production site out in the field, you have a tailgate meeting for, it's that constant communication and reiteration of those values as far as your guiding principles, the guardrails, the rules of the
Yeah.
game. And then if they know they can operate within those rules and take some chances and be rewarded, because one of your core values is tied to obviously quality first, which doesn't mean the
Hmm.
same thing to everybody. What is that? So a lot in there, and thank you for sharing those insights. What does that quality really mean, and what does that look like within Elnet?
Yeah, we made quality first our core value because it's everything we do. And it's not just in the functionality of the equipment that we make, which is used to take these metal parts and remove plastic and fuse metal together. So it needs to work really well for the end customer's sake. For example, if it's in the medical field and people are making knees and hips, we need to allow that customer to be able to rely on this equipment every single day. People at the end of the day can have a renewing of life and a revitalization of being able to walk again. So from a functionality perspective, that's number one. But the other side to it, and this is something my dad has always instilled in me, and I've instilled in my team over the years, it's got to look as good as it functions. And it is the best piece of equipment in the world, functionality wise. So aesthetics are huge to us because when
Mm-hmm.
somebody's spending a $500,000 to $1 million on a piece of equipment, you want to take this thing out of the box and be like, holy, whoa, this is a beautiful piece of equipment, right? We do a lot of little things on top of that. So when a furnace gets shipped to a customer, it comes with a bow on it. We put a little flag sticker on there.
Literally?
Oh yeah, every single furnace since 1984 has had a bow on it. It's a crazy
How
story. My
cool.
mom made a bow for a furnace that was sold at a trade show. She goes with my dad to a trade show and said to the guy that was wanting to
Oh
buy the
man.
system, she's
Yeah.
like, listen, if you sign the contract today, I'll go out and get a bow for the thing and I'll put it on it. And he goes, okay, fine. So she went to a store like, like a Target or something like that out of town, although they probably didn't have that in 1984, and
Right,
bought
right.
bow material and wrapped this thing in a bow. And every single system since that day
Since then.
has had a
Yeah,
bow. And when I go to the companies and I look around the shop, sometimes it's in the executive's office, it's in
I
the
hang
shop
on to
guy's
that.
office. So they hold these things,
Hmm.
and
And the
it's
interesting thing there,
little
Stefan, that
extras.
you, yeah, and you shared is it doesn't take, in working with clients, we talk about, and whether you're thinking about the compounding effect of improvement,
Hmm.
doesn't need to be earth shaking.
Hmm.
1% cumulatively daily in and out. And same thing there with making an impression and your unique value proposition. How do you stand out in your industry and be a leader in your industry? Something as simple as a bow, right? It's not this huge investment, this big,
Yeah.
it's just something simple, but the consistency. And the interesting thing there, every time you've talked about values, you've stated it core values. And so
Right.
those are foundational, they're the floor that everything is built on, right?
Yeah. One additional thing is, quality is more than just the fabrication and the look of the equipment, right? And the bows, no scratches, everything moves and does what it's supposed to do. But we look at quality also in, well, what's the relationship we're holding with our customers? When they call us, do they feel like we're present with them? Or are we on, three different phone calls at the same time and we don't give people the ability to know that we're with them 100% of the time? And then
Mm-hmm.
additionally, we just did an award earlier this week for a gentleman who won the Quality First Recognition Award this week. And he's not a part maker in the equipment building fabrication side of the business. He's actually our service manager. And he won that not just because of the aspect of quality that he instills throughout the shop, but he also is a big believer in when we have new teammates coming in, he does a phenomenal job bringing them up to speed, answering questions, and teaching them new technology. If we bring new technology in, like new service software and programs, he just runs with it. He finds a way to build something really good out of what we bring into the company. So quality is more than just look and function.
Right.
It's relationships, it's experience with customers, it's the whole gamut together.
So that's absolutely, absolutely couldn't agree more. And I think there, with that piece about the relationships,
Hmm.
and that being foundational. Thinking again about that compounding effect, like the atomic habits mindset, right? We have
Hmm.
this thing of your business doesn't rise to the level of your goals; it falls to the level of your systems. And so, something you were
Hmm.
talking about there, something as simple as an onboarding system. First
Hmm.
impressions last. So the experience that those team members have coming in, is making sure they're empowered, they're equipped, and they're
Hmm.
enabled to do what you need them to do. And so obviously output there is a function of the input that your supervisor, your service manager there has got the right mindset. As you think about mindset and just the role that plays and how you as the leader of your business, and I think common interests and self-development, if you would share a little bit just for your own continued development and staying sharp, how do you, what do you, where do you, however you'd like to address that, for continued learning and development as a leader and just the skill of leadership and business ownership?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there's a lot of different facets and there's a
Yeah.
lot of ways
Pick one or
people can
two.
get information. The problem is where are we sourcing this information from? Because there's a lot of false leaders out there. There's a lot of false facades of reality and false facades of making money quick and all that stuff that you can go down the rabbit hole. So I tie this back a little bit to a personal story with myself. I've
Please
always been a
share.
big believer in trying to help people. It's been a personal core value of my own. I love to help somebody accomplish something, solve a problem. If they need to move, shit, I would rent a pickup truck to help somebody move. If I even had something on the weekend, I would go out of my way to make sure that I could direct myself so I can go out of my way to help them. It gave me a lot of joy to try to help fill people's cups up. And then when I was like 33, 34, I realized, man, my cup's empty. And I'm getting every so often drips and drabs of water. And then
Mm.
the key thing that I recognized about myself was I'm helping all these people, they're humans, and they need help. I'm a person too, right? So there's a terminology of selfless or selfish selflessness. that I
Right.
think it's very hard for people to kind of wrap their head around it when people say they're being selfish. You need to, especially as a business leader, you need to be a little selfish first before you can be your ultimate selfless self for everybody else. And what that means is you got to make sure you're doing the things for your own personal sake, because at the end of the day, the only one that goes to bed with you is yourself, right? It's you versus you every single day, and you're the one who has to take care of you. It's fortunate if you have good, loving people in your life that are there for you, but they don't know exactly how you're feeling. They don't know the emotions you're going through. They don't know the things and anxieties and all the things that can come with being a business leader. So you got to find a way to be with yourself. And then if you can communicate that out to those that love you, it makes them have the ability to know how to help you better. So I went down a personal development journey and started learning about what is personal development. I started reading books. I started to listen to podcasts. I listened to a gentleman by the name of Ed Milet for a while in the beginning, and then a guy by the name of Andy Frisella, who's a very outspoken, very beautiful human in terms of his reality. And he's very reality based and focused. And I resonated really well with that because I'm the same way. I don't like bullshit. I don't like fluff. Just get to the real facts, right? Give me what that is. And then let's move forward with that. So my journey went down that. I started to join a couple executive groups. They were okay. They weren't great. And then I found a group called the Arate Syndicate, which has been a great transformation for me. It's kind of a reformation of who I've been, but with a group of people that are just like me. And that's grown me now into a position where I'm also out offering my own time in different leadership groups and helping support new business owners and business owners that are, either going through good things or bad things, and they just need to have a revival of what they're working on. But, business practices and SOPs and all that stuff is super important to keep a business running. But as the leader, you got to keep yourself running, and everything comes back to yourself, right? So a good leader in a business has the ability to analyze a situation and move from the problem to what is the lesson I need to learn from that problem really quick. Because if you stew in the problem, I have a saying that I love to tell people: what you water grows. So if you water the stewing in the problem, why did this happen? What's going on? Oh my God, you're not getting out of it to what is the lesson I need to learn from this? And then what is the gift I get from that? Do I have a moment of gratitude? Do I have a moment of learning from this that I can move forward with? And the faster a leader can get themselves from step one to step two like that, it gives you the ability to make decisions fast and help your team as a leader much, much better.
Absolutely. So there's a level of, I would kind of describe that as like, resilience, or kind of like a spring back, right? That
Mm-hmm.
tenacity. We hear it described as grit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think as we work toward mental fortitude, the power of the mind, right? That we gradually increase the floor. So
Yeah.
each time that we face a challenge, an opportunity, probably is a better way to look at it, the depths that it can take us to are lower because we're more mature in our thoughts, we're more powerful based on where we're spending our time in community. And it
Yeah.
sounded like you had a bit of a nugget in there regarding, you went into this introspective kind of self journey, but ultimately found that flourished in community. Am I
Oh
putting
yeah.
words in your mouth there?
No, that's 100% true. It allowed me to realize, in order for a person to be the best for themselves, right? Take care of themselves, they got to check their blood, they got to work out, they got to move, they got to eat right, they got to drink water, right? If you can do that first here, you can be the best example for that everybody else. If a business owner who's trying to get involved in an airplane industry is going to go to a pool guy for advice, he's never going to get the right advice.
Mm-mm.
Right? You got to go after people that you want to emulate to get advice. So if I'm going to put myself in the best physical shape, mental shape, and spiritual shape that I can, as my team wants to grow, they can now come to me for help and advice, and I can be a better leader for them.
That's absolutely
Right.
correct.
So what I went through was this transformation of, oh my God, I'm a human. And I started to realize everybody that's on my team, when they walk through the door, they're people first, and then they're teammates. So people come into work. How many times have you been in a company where you've had a teammate that just wasn't performing great that day? Maybe they had something happen at home, right? A lot of leaders in businesses that fail to either earn respect or have that trust relationship, it's they walk up to the teammate and they don't say good morning, or they don't say, hey man, you seem like something's off. Is everything okay? That
Mm-hmm.
simple ask right there is huge. It gives somebody the ability to not have to build the wall up right away. right? And then that makes that
Genuinely.
human connection. And then you can go into it and be like, hey, if you ever need time, I'm here. How can I help you? Because if you find a way to get somebody to realize that you're in their corner, man, they love that. That's such a great thing to have, as somebody in your corner, right?
I couldn't
And
agree more. And that's actually what's in our tagline, is in your corner. And so I
yeah,
think certainly, this kind of, in my own journey, I relate a lot to what you're sharing with us and our listeners, and that, you start out and you're kind of trying to grind out and climb that career ladder. And hopefully through, just development individually and maturity, spiritually, mentally, we start to realize that it's more about the individuals and the
oh
humans
yeah,
that we're interacting with. And so have personally made this shift from success to significance,
mm-hmm,
or from return on investment to return on impact, right? Like,
mm-hmm.
and so this concept of givers gain, is part of law of reciprocity type thing. But all of those resonated with me. So thank you so much for sharing those. We live by the core values of CARE, which is community, accountability, results, and education.
I
All of
love
those
it.
align so closely with what you've talked with us about. If you're listening to this podcast in the future, please make sure to seek out some information to help develop the types of things that Stefan has shared with us. Obviously, we both welcome any outreach if you have needs in the industries that we support, but more importantly, in just being better in the community and providing quality service to the customers that we're honored to be able to support. So with that being said, thank you again for your time. It is valuable, and we appreciate the insights that you've shared, and continue to wish you nothing but great success at Elnick and with your team. Thank you
Thank you
again.
very much. I appreciate it.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.